change when she saw a heavy-set man with red hair wearing a raincoat and snap-brim cap. This was his partner, a man named Jerry Burke, once Lieutenant Jerry Burke. The hunter despised his partner and would rather have killed him than his target. But just as in Vietnam, adversity and common interest determined his allies. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. In the magnified circle of the scope, the men exchanged a few words. Johnson handed Burke one suitcase, but not the other. Something was wrong. They were arguing. Then Johnson pulled a gun, and the hunter knew the time was now. He brought the crosshairs to bear on the target. The squeezing of the trigger was gentle. The crack of the rifle very loud. The victim never heard the shot. One moment he was facing Jerry Burke, and then the sidewalk slammed into his back, and he was staring at clouds framed by trees, a roaring in his ears, and the two people whose lives had brought him here were leaning down, Chris's face coming towards him, a red film covering the world, and the memory of the day they met, the three of them at Travis Air Force Base, in the time of Vietnam. Chapter 1. Dickheads. "Honey, it's just the Army," Chris said. "No, it's dickheads making dickhead policy." "That's what I said." Keith was driving the Bayshore Freeway toward San Francisco. Chris had just met him at the airport. She sat with one arm braced against the dashboard, sunlight caught in her auburn hair. "Don't make excuses, Christy," Keith said. "Don't ever make excuses for stupidity." He swerved to the inside lane and passed a slow car. A Volkswagen behind them beeped a warning. "Eat my shorts," Keith yelled. Chris smiled. Loud anger was good anger. The bad anger was when Keith withdrew into himself and watched the world with smoldering eyes. The bad anger scared her because she was helpless to alter his mood and bring him out of it. "It's not funny," Keith grunted. She caressed his leg. "I know." "Then why are you smiling?" "Because I'm happy to see my husband." "You're a flunky husband." "You're not a flunky. You didn't have a chance to flunk." "Thanks a lot." "You know what I mean." Keith let his hand drop to hers. Chris would love him whether he was a grunt or a chopper pilot, but Keith hated what happened. Only dickheads had bad luck. While his peers were smoking dope and cruising the Haight-Ashbury, Keith had earned a private pilot license. And when his friends went to college to avoid Vietnam, Keith joined the Army to learn to fly helicopters. He went to basic training, scored well on his tests, and was given orders to Fort Walters, Texas. When he arrived, he found, instead of a cockpit waiting for him, a new set of orders. "Vacation in Nam," the corporal behind the desk told him with a grin. "Sorry about that." Keith stared dumbly. "But I just got here. I've got orders to begin flight training." The corporal was shaking his head. "Canceled." "What do you mean, canceled?" "I mean, cry a little tear. Canceled is canceled." "But that's why I joined the Army, to fly helicopters. That's the whole point." "So?" The corporal, whose chin was dimpled with pimples, put his hands behind his head and leaned back nonchalantly. From inside the administration building, Keith could hear the muffled whoomp, whoomp, whoomp of helicopters arriving and departing, the sound of his future slipping away. "But I already know how to fly," Keith said. "I have a private pilot's license. I have 57 hours. All I need is transition training to helicopters." "You want a medal or a chest to pin it on?" The corporal was leaning back in his chair, one foot propped against the metal drawer, watching him with a smug smile. Keith leaned down to pick up his duffel bag, put his hand on the desk, and pushed hard. The corporal let out a yell as he toppled over, spilling a metal tray of pencils and half a cup of coffee. "Dickhead floors," Keith said. "Must have been polished by the Vietcong." Now, as they approached San Francisco, Chris gave him directions into the city. "Where are we going?" Keith asked. "A surprise. You'll see." "We've only got 7 hours." "It won't take that long." She directed him through the heart of the city to the Mark Hopkins Hotel. "Turn here." "Why?" "Turn, turn." She grabbed the steering